Welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at gaming mouse pads.
Yeah.
Specifically, we're going to be comparing rigid mouse pads versus cloth mouse pads.
Right?
And we've got a ton of information for you guys.
Yeah, we've got articles, reviews, forum posts.
Yeah, we even dove into some scientific research
Oh, we did?
to really break this down for you.
Yeah.
So that you can pick the best mouse pad for your needs.
Yeah, because it can actually make a big difference.
Yeah, people don't always think about it, but a mouse pad
Right.
is pretty critical to your whole setup.
It really is a weapon in your arsenal.
It really is. Yeah.
It can have a huge impact on your accuracy, your speed, your comfort while you're gaming.
Yeah, and we're going to unpack all that today.
Yeah, let's get into it.
So let's start with rigid mouse pads.
Yeah.
These are the ones that a lot of people associate with speed.
Yeah, like that really slick glide.
Yeah, like almost like an ice rink.
Exactly. They're like the Formula One race cars of mouse pads.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're playing a game like Valorant or CSGO,
Right.
Where speed is really everything.
Yeah, you need those fast reaction times.
So what's the deal? Why are these so fast? What's going on?
So it's all about the science of the mouse skates.
Okay.
Those little feet on the bottom of your mouse.
Yeah.
And how they interact with the surface of the pad.
Okay.
Rigid pads are often made of hard plastic or aluminum, even glass sometimes.
Wow.
And these materials create a super smooth surface.
Okay.
And this lets the mouse skates just glide over them with very little friction.
And those skates, they're usually made of what, PTFE?
Yeah, PTFE or sometimes ceramic.
And what's the difference? I don't know all the material science stuff.
PTFE is also known as Teflon.
Oh, okay.
You might recognize it from cookware.
Right.
It's known for being really low friction and super durable.
Oh, okay.
So that's why it's a popular choice for mouse skates.
Okay.
Now, ceramic is even harder and more durable than PTFE and creates an even slicker glide, but it is a bit more expensive.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, you get what you pay for.
So basically, the slicker the glide, the faster the mouse movements, and that translates into, like you said, better reaction times in games.
Exactly. It could give you a competitive edge.
Yeah, like faster flick shots.
Yes.
And smoother tracking.
You'll be hitting those headshots in no time.
Yeah, nice. So speed is a big thing, but I've also heard that rigid pads are good because they're really consistent.
Yes, that's a big one.
Like they're not really affected by temperature or like if you're someone who gets sweaty hands.
Right, exactly.
So tell me a little bit more about that.
So unlike cloth mouse pads, which can absorb moisture and change how they feel,
Okay.
rigid pads stay the same no matter what.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter if you're gaming in a cool basement or a hot, humid room.
Yeah.
The mouse pad will perform the same way.
Yeah.
So you can always rely on it.
So it's super predictable.
Exactly.
So like if you're in a tournament or something like that and you're nervous and you're getting a little sweaty, it's not going to affect your mouse pad.
Exactly. You don't want your mouse pad to be another thing to worry about.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
You need to focus on the game.
Yeah, totally. And another thing with these is durability.
Oh, yeah. They're built to last.
Yeah, these things are tough.
Especially those aluminum ones.
Yeah, I've heard those can last for years.
Oh, yeah. Even with heavy use.
Yeah, so it's like an investment.
Right.
If you're going to be a serious gamer, you want something that's going to last.
Exactly.
And then also, I guess another thing is that they're easy to clean.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like you can just wipe them down.
Yeah. A little disinfectant.
Yeah.
You're good to go.
Yeah, that's a good point, especially, post-COVID.
Right. These days, we're all a bit more hygiene conscious.
Exactly. Yeah. So it seems like they have a lot of advantages.
They do.
But are there any downsides?
Huh. There are some trade-offs to consider.
Okay.
One of the big ones is comfort.
Right. Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah. It's a hard surface.
Yeah.
So it can be a bit tough on the wrists.
Especially if you're gaming for a long time.
Exactly. Like if you're playing for hours on end.
Yeah.
It can lead to wrist fatigue.
Yeah.
Especially if you're prone to repetitive strain injuries.
Yeah.
Or if you tend to grip your mouse really tightly.
Yeah. So if comfort is really important to you,
right.
Maybe a rigid pad isn't the best choice.
Yeah, you might want to consider something else.
Okay, what about the cost?
Oh, yeah. They can be a bit pricey.
Yeah.
The materials in manufacturing make them a bit more expensive than cloth pads.
Okay.
Especially the high-end aluminum models.
Okay.
Some of those can cost upwards of 80 euros.
Wow. Okay, so that's a serious investment.
It is.
You'd really have to weigh the pros and cons.
Yeah, see if it's worth it for you.
Okay, and then the last thing I was thinking about was noise.
Oh, yeah.
These things, are they pretty loud?
Well, they can be. That smooth, hard surface can create a swishing sound as you move your mouse.
Oh, okay.
It's not a huge deal for everyone.
Right.
But if you're in a shared space.
Right. Or you're streaming.
Yeah. Or you're just sensitive to noise, it's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so we've explored the world of rigid pads,
Okay.
the pros, the cons, the science behind them.
Yeah.
Definitely they offer speed
Yes.
and consistency,
Uh-huh.
but comfort and noise are things to keep in mind.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, so let's move on to cloth mouse pads.
All right. Yeah.
So if rigid pads are all about speed,
Right.
cloth pads, I feel like, are more focused on comfort.
Yeah, you could say that.
Like that soft kind of textile surface.
Right.
Yeah, they often have that extra padding too, right?
Yeah, a lot of them have memory foam or something like that.
Yeah, for your wrist.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes a big difference if you're gaming for a long time.
Huge difference. Yeah.
Yeah, no one wants to be sitting there with their wrist on a hard surface for hours.
Absolutely. And that's where cloth pads come in.
Yeah.
So they're usually made from fabrics like microfiber or nylon, sometimes even silk.
Wow, fancy.
Yeah, got to have that premium feel.
Right.
So these materials are much softer than the hard surfaces of rigid pads.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And like you said, they often have those extra foam layers for cushioning and support.
It's like a pillow for your wrist.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's awesome for comfort.
Uh-huh.
But does that mean you sacrifice performance?
That's a good question.
Like, does it make your mouse slower or less accurate?
Well, it's true that cloth pads might not have that super slick glide that you get with a rigid pad.
Yeah.
But they have their own advantage.
Okay. What's that?
Control.
Oh, okay.
The texture of the cloth creates a bit of friction.
Okay.
And that actually allows for more precise movements.
So it's like a trade-off.
Yeah, you could say that.
Less speed, but more control.
Mm.
Interesting. Okay, so for what kind of games would that be good for?
Well, think about games where you need to make small, precise movements.
Okay.
Like MMOs or strategy games where you're clicking on tiny units or navigating complex menus.
Right, yeah, you need that accuracy.
Exactly.
Okay, so what about people who need a bit of both?
Oh, you mean like a balance of speed and control?
Yeah.
Well, there's actually a whole category of mouse pads called hybrid pads.
Oh, I've heard of those.
Yeah, they try to combine the best of both worlds.
Okay.
So they typically have a cloth surface.
Okay.
But they use a tighter weave or special coatings to make the glide smoother.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so you get some of that speed.
Right.
But you still retain some of that control.
That's a good option.
Yeah, if you're looking for something versatile.
Okay, cool. So it sounds like there's a cloth pad out there for everyone.
Pretty much, yeah.
But what about the downsides?
Well, like any piece of gear, there are some trade-offs.
Yeah. What are some of the things to watch out for with cloth pads?
One of the big ones is wear and tear.
Right. Yeah, fabric is going to wear down over time.
Exactly.
Okay.
Especially in those high-use areas.
Right, where you're moving your mouse all the time.
Yeah, and this can create inconsistencies in the surface.
Oh, okay.
Which can affect your tracking.
Right. So it won't be as smooth.
Exactly. And you might start to see some fraying around the edges, too.
Okay. So you have to think about how long they're going to last.
Right. And then there's also the maintenance aspect.
Right. Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Cloth pads need to be cleaned regularly.
Yeah.
They tend to accumulate dust crumbs.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Even sweat over time.
Gross.
Yeah. And all that buildup can affect the glide of your mouse.
Okay.
It can actually make it less accurate.
Wow. Okay, so you really got to keep them clean.
You do.
Okay, so what's the best way to clean them?
Usually a gentle hand wash with some mild soap and water is enough.
Okay.
Just avoid using any harsh chemicals.
Right.
Or abrasive cleaners.
Yeah.
Because those can damage the fabric.
Okay, that makes sense. And then let it air dry.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got wear and tear, we've got cleaning.
Right.
Are there any other downsides to cloth pads?
Well, there's one more thing that can affect their performance.
Okay, what's that?
Environmental conditions.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so cloth pads are more sensitive to things like humidity and temperature changes.
Oh, that's right. I remember reading that.
Yeah.
Humidity can affect how they feel.
Exactly.
Okay.
So in humid environments, the fabric can absorb moisture.
Right.
And that can make the surface feel slower and less responsive.
Okay.
And even sweat from your hand can have an impact.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's something to keep in mind.
Okay, so if you live in a humid place or you tend to get sweaty hands,
right,
you might want to think twice about a cloth pad.
Yeah, or at least be prepared to clean it more often.
Okay, so we've looked at the pros and cons of both rigid pads and cloth pads.
Yeah.
They both have their strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
And the best choice really depends on you, your gaming style, your preferences, even where you live.
It's all about finding the right tool for the job.
Okay, so now that we've laid all that out,
right,
let's get specific.
Okay.
How do you actually choose the right mouse pad?
Yeah, let's get into the recommendations.
All right, so we've talked about rigid pads and cloth pads.
We have.
But how do you know which one is right for you?
Right.
Like, what about specific games?
Yeah, let's get into some game-specific recommendations.
Okay, perfect.
So let's start with FPS gamers.
Okay, the folks who love those fast-paced shooters.
Exactly. Games like Call of Duty or Valorant.
Yeah, where speed and precision are key.
Absolutely.
So for them, I'm guessing a rigid pad is the way to go.
Generally, yes.
Okay.
You want that slick surface for those quick flick shots.
Right.
And the precise tracking.
But I'm guessing it's not quite that simple.
Well, there are some nuances to consider.
Okay, like what?
Remember we talked about mouse skates being made from either PTFE or ceramic?
Yeah.
Well, that can actually affect your choice of rigid pad.
Really?
Yeah, so PTFE skates,
Okay.
being softer,
Okay.
they actually glide more smoothly on surfaces with a bit of texture.
Oh, interesting.
So if you're using PTFE skates,
Okay.
you might actually want a rigid pad with a slightly textured surface.
Okay, so it's not just about the pad itself.
Right.
It's also about how it interacts with your mouse.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Now, if you're using ceramic skates,
Okay.
those are harder and slicker.
Right.
So for those, a smooth, polished surface is usually better.
Okay, so they get that maximum glide.
Exactly.
And no texture to slow them down.
Right.
Okay, so PTFE, little texture,
Yeah.
ceramic smooth.
It makes sense, right?
It does, yeah. Okay, so what about sensitivity?
Good point.
Does that come into play?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So if you're a low sensitivity player,
Okay, meaning you move your mouse more to aim.
right,
Okay.
then a bit of texture on your rigid pad can actually be helpful.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it gives you a little more resistance,
Okay.
which allows for those finer adjustments.
So for low sensitivity players,
Right.
a textured rigid pad might actually be better than a super smooth one.
Exactly.
Okay, that's cool. And then what about high sensitivity players?
Well, they're usually going to prefer that super smooth surface.
Right, because they're making smaller movements.
Exactly. They want that effortless glide to translate those tiny hand movements.
Right into precise in-game actions.
Precisely.
Okay, so we've talked about mouse skates. We've talked about sensitivity.
Mm-hmm.
What else should FPS gamers keep in mind when choosing a rigid pad?
Well, size is definitely important.
Okay.
You want a pad that's big enough to accommodate your movements.
Right, especially if you're playing at a lower sensitivity.
Exactly.
Okay, how big are we talking?
I would recommend at least 45 by 40 centimeters.
Okay, so plenty of space to move around.
Yeah, you don't want your mouse running off the edge in the middle of a firefight.
Right. That would be bad.
Not good.
Okay, and then material-wise, any recommendations?
Aluminum is usually a top choice for FPS gamers.
Okay.
It's durable, consistent,
Right.
and it provides that nice, smooth glide.
Okay, so we've got our FPS gamers covered.
We do?
Now, what about MMO and strategy gamers?
Oh, yes.
Those are the folks who are spending hours in their virtual worlds.
Yeah, they need a comfortable setup.
Absolutely.
So for them, a good cloth pad is essential.
Yeah, we talked about how they provide that nice soft surface.
Right.
But are there any specific features they should look for?
Well, thickness is key.
Okay.
A thicker pad means more cushioning,
Right.
more support for your wrist,
Okay.
which is going to help prevent fatigue and discomfort.
Makes sense.
So look for a pad that's at least 4 millimeters thick,
Okay.
if not more.
So it's like a little pillow for your wrist.
Exactly.
As you're commanding armies and building empires.
Right, or exploring those vast online worlds.
Exactly. Okay, so thickness is important.
Uh-huh.
What about size for MMO and strategy gamers?
Size is still important.
Okay.
These gamers often have a lot of keybinds.
Right.
They need plenty of mouse space to navigate their interfaces.
Okay, so bigger is better.
I would say so.
Okay, how big are we talking?
At least 90 by 40 centimeters.
Wow, that's a big mouse pad.
Yeah, but it gives you room for your keyboard and your mouse.
Right.
And since these gamers aren't making those super fast flick shots,
Okay.
they can often get away with a higher sensitivity.
Right, so they need less physical space.
Exactly.
Okay, so thickness and size are crucial for MMO and strategy gamers.
They are.
What about the surface texture?
For those gamers, a medium texture cloth is usually a good option.
Okay.
It provides enough friction for precise clicks and movements,
Okay.
but it still allows for smooth cursor gliding.
So it's a good balance?
Yeah, you could say that.
Okay, so we've talked about FPS.
Uh-huh.
We've talked about MMO and strategy games.
Right.
What about those gamers who like to play a little bit of everything?
The versatile gamers.
Yeah.
They might be editing videos one minute and
Yeah.
playing the shooter the next.
Exactly.
They need a mouse pad that can keep up.
For sure. So what would you recommend for them?
Well, for them, a hybrid pad is often the best solution.
Okay.
It tries to bridge the gap between speed and control.
So it's like the best of both worlds.
You could say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are there different types of hybrid pads?
Yeah, there's definitely a range.
Okay.
Some lean more towards speed.
Okay.
Others prioritize control.
Okay.
It really depends on the materials and the weave of the fabric.
So how do you know which hybrid pad is right for you?
Reading product descriptions is always helpful.
Okay.
Look for phrases like speed-focused hybrid or control-oriented hybrid.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
And reading reviews from other gamers
Yeah.
could be super helpful too.
Especially if they have a similar playstyle to you.
Exactly.
Okay, and what about those hydrophobic coatings?
Yes.
Are those good for hybrid pads?
They can be a great option, especially if you're someone who snacks or drinks at your desk.
Right, because spills happen.
They do.
Okay.
And a hydrophobic coating will make cleaning much easier.
And probably make the pad last longer, too.
Exactly.
So a hybrid pad with a hydrophobic coating?
Yeah.
That sounds like a good all-around choice.
It really is.
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
We've talked about rigid pads, cloth pads, hybrid pads.
It's been a journey.
It has.
But hopefully now our listeners feel
Yeah.
a little more equipped to choose the right mouse pad.
For sure. I think we've given them all the information they need
I hope so.
to make an informed decision.
Yeah, because a mouse pad might seem like a small thing,
Right.
but it can really make a big difference in your gaming experience.
It's that connection between you and the game.
Exactly.
So think about your play style. Think about your preferences.
Your budget.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to experiment until
Great.
you find that perfect mouse pad.
The one that helps you game at your best.
That's the goal.
Ah, absolutely. All right, everyone, thanks for joining us for this deep dive
Yes, thanks for listening.
into the world of gaming mouse pads.
Catch you next time.
See you.